Welcome, everybody. A good and warm welcome to everybody. My name is Vinay Gudai, Director for Financial Services at the Economic Development Board of Mauritius. Let me take this opportunity to first acknowledge the presence of Dr. the Honorable Mrs. Jyoti Jitan, Minister for Financial Services and Economic Planning of the Republic of Mauritius. And so we have the privilege to have with us Mr. Sachin Mohabir, the Deputy CEO of the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, Mr. Gunther Berger, Managing Director of the Directorate for SDG Innovation and Economic Transformation at UNIDO, Mr. Brian Portelli, Chief Technical Advisor, Sustainable Investment and Responsible Business Unit of UNIDO, and last but not least, Mr. Arunsin Ramdani, representative of the European Union to the Republic of Mauritius. So welcome everybody to Mauritius, a tropical island known for its beautiful beaches, its sunshine, and more importantly, more recently, for its globally renowned international financial center. So this webinar is part of a series of webinars under the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the UNIDO, Rapid Response Window Program, and it is an initiative funded by the European Union and Secretariat of the African, Caribbean, Pacific States, the ACP. It is thus a privilege for the EDB, Mauritius, to collaborate with UNIDO to put together this webinar today, with the objective to try and promote the window that has been put into place by UNIDO, which is a digital investment system that has a list of projects across Africa and across the ACP, with the objective of trying to get financial institutions based in Mauritius access or visibility onto the list of projects across Africa and the ACP countries, so that we could help plug the finance gap across Africa and ACP countries. So without further ado, I would like to invite the Deputy CEO of the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, Mr. Sachin Mohabir, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Vinay. Dr. the Honorable Mrs. Jyoti Jitan, Minister of Financial Services and Economic Planning, Mr. Gunther Berger, Managing Director of the Directorate of SDG Innovation and Economic Transformation in UNIDO. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. To our friends joining in from Africa, a very good morning, and to those who are here in Mauritius, a good afternoon. And thank you for joining us today at this Knowledge Exchange webinar. It is a privilege to address such a distinguished gathering. We see we have nearly 40 people already as we gather to explore one of the most critical topics for Africa's economic future, fostering intra-African investment flows. Africa, as you all know, is a continent of immense potential. We always say this. It has a young, dynamic population, abundant natural resources, and rapidly growing economies. The opportunities for investment are vast. Yet, as we all know, unlocking this potential requires collaboration, innovation, and a shared vision for the future. Let me begin by painting a picture of where we stand today. The current volume of FDI flows within Africa, while still growing, represent only a fraction of global investment. In 2023, the figures that we have at hand, global FDI flows stood at 1.3 trillion USD, of which Africa accounted for only 52.6 billion USD, representing around 4%. While this may seem modest, it is important to note that Africa's share of global FDI has been steadily increasing, but when we compare with the global FDI, is still very low at 3.95%. So we have to reverse this trend and see how we can increase the confidence of investors in Africa's potential. Today, the potential is for intra-African trade, which accounts 15% of the continent's total trade value. But when we compare it with other regions like Europe today, 60% of trade is within Europe, and in Asia, it's already 58%. In Africa, it's 15%. We have to see how this can be growth. So this disparity highlights a significant opportunity for growth. And when we see at intra-African investment, we see that South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria have emerged as the largest sources of intra-African FDI, driving the cross-border investment that are transforming the continent. And which other sectors driving the intra-African investment? The answer lies in Africa's rich natural resources, the growing demand for innovation. We see renewable energy, oil and gas, mining are leading the change. But other sectors at the same time have great potential like fintech, agribusiness, and infrastructure that can emerge as critical drivers of growth, offering opportunities for both local and international investors. So where Mauritius stands, Mauritius is a trusted financial and investment hub, and Mauritius can play a pivotal role when we talk about intra-Africa investment. But our role goes beyond being just a gateway. Mauritius is committed to being an active participant in Africa growth story through our DTA, double taxation avoidance agreements, and different IPPAs, investment promotion and protection agreements. Mauritius has created a network that facilitates seamless investment flows across the continent, and investors can use Mauritius to channel their investment. So for Mauritius, this is not just an opportunity, it is a responsibility. As a country, we receive 20% of FDI from Africa. We export significantly to the continent, and we feel that we can help in driving the investment. Our strategic location, our robust financial services sector, the network of DTAs, position Mauritius as a gateway for investment into Africa. And we are committed to leveraging these advantages to support the AFCFTA and foster greater intra-Africa investment flows. At the EDB of Mauritius, our mission is clear, to position Mauritius as an investment and business hub of choice for Africa. We are not just facilitators, but we are enablers of growth. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to reiterate Mauritius' unwavering commitment to Africa's growth story. We are proud to be part of this journey, and we are excited about the possibilities that lie ahead. Together, we can foster greater intra-African investment flows, unlock new opportunities, and build a brighter future for generations to come. Thank you, and I look forward to the insightful discussion that will follow. Let us invest in Africa, for Africa, and by Africa. Thank you. Vinay, I pass on to you. You're muted, Vinay. You're muted. You're mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mahabir, Deputy CEO of the Economic Development Board of Mauritius. Indeed, this is a shared vision by the UNIDO and the Economic Development Board of Mauritius and the Mauritius at large. And thank you for sharing the global FDI percentage for Africa. It's only 4%, 52 billion compared to 1.3 trillion globally. So there's a huge gap to be closed. And we hope that onboarding UNIDO's digital investment system developed within the ACP Business Friendly program by the UNIDO will enable us to having more investment and closing that finance gap on the continent. To that end, I have the pleasure now to invite Mr. Gunther Becher, Managing Director of the Directorate for SDG Innovation and Economic Transformation from UNIDO, to share with us the developments, both the rapid response actions and also the ACP Business Friendly program that is developing the digital investment system. Mr. Gunther, it's up to you now.
Thank you, Vinay, esteemed Excellency, Honorable Minister of Financial Services and Economic Planning, Ms. Yoti Yutun, Mr. Sahim Bonabir, Deputy CEO of the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, Mr. Arun Randori, European representative of the European Union to the Republic of Mauritius and the Republic of Seychelles. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to address this very important webinar on fostering inter-African investment flows. Let me first thank our co-organizers, the Economic Development Board and the Mauritius International Financial Center, for their invaluable collaboration in making this session possible. And as already mentioned, it is a self-evident truth that Africa holds immense potential for investments. The continent's abundant resources and its useful population, combined with innovative entrepreneurs, successful business and fast-growing industries, present great opportunities. However, and that will be discussed today, this potential has largely remained untapped by investors. Recent estimates from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa and the African Development Bank indicate that a financing gap of achieving the SDGs by 2030 in Africa, and Africa alone, is estimated about 1.3 trillion US dollar annually, equivalent to 40% of Africa's GDP. Intra-African investment has a pivotal role to play in bridging this gap, especially in light of the operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Among the key players in fostering inter-African investment, Mauritius, dear Minister, has established itself as a reputable financial hub and a gateway to Africa. UNIDO is witnessing this during the implementation of the Rapid Response Window workstream for Mauritius under the African Caribbean Pacific Business Friendly Program, an inter-ACP action funded by the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States. This webinar is also being organized within the framework of this program. And we are furthermore very impressed how Mauritius has organized the African Partnership Conferences in 2016 and 2023, where UNIDO has been invited to contribute. The nation's robust financial services sector and the strategic position make Mauritius an important player for channeling investments into key African markets. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at UNIDO, investment promotion and facilitation, ranging from project preparation and appraisal to impact and gender lens investment, is a key priority. As an organization, UN organization, entrusted with a unique mandate to promote, dynamize, and accelerate industrial development, we recognize that to foster inclusive economic growth and achieve the sustainable development goals, robust and equitable investment flows are crucial. Today's webinar, ladies and gentlemen, therefore aims to provide a platform to foster mutual collaboration and exchange insights and unlock immense potential of intra-African investment flows, with a special focus on outward investments from Mauritius. UNIDO's project interventions focus on concrete practical support to investment promotion institutions such as the Mauritius EDB, in terms of identifying and formulating investment opportunities at national and regional level. As a result of this work, over 800 investment opportunities in Africa can now be found on our investment promotion platform, Invest in ACP, an one-stop shop for investors looking to invest in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. We think that this offers a formidable opportunity for Mauritius to scale up from its around $80 billion in investment stocks already invested across the African continent, and the 900 plus funds established in Mauritius also should find it interesting to source future deals. I am delighted that during this dedicated session, the investment profiling and promotion work undertaken under the program will be presented alongside other highly interesting interventions from our co-organizers. In closing, I wish to express once more my sincere appreciation to the EDB and Mauritius IFC for their support, partnership, as well as the European Commission, of course, and the OACPS for the funding support. I am confident that today's discussions will yield fruitful exchanges, paving the way for increased inter-African investments and bridging the SDG financing gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gunther, Managing Director of the Directorate for SDG Innovation and Economic Transformation at UNIDO. And rightly so, it's the UNIDO's mandate is to promote, dynamize, and accelerate economic development. And we hope that this platform will foster economic collaboration and intra-investment flows within Africa. So now I have the pleasure to come to Mr. Arun Singh Ramdhani, a representative of the European Union to Mauritius, who will take us to the role that the EU has played in financing this wonderful project, the digital investment system, and just share with us the objective of the EU. Mr. Ramdhani?
Yeah, thank you, Vinay. Can you hear me? Right.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Right, okay, fine. Honorable Jyoti Jitan, Minister of Financial Services and Economic Planning, Mr. Sachin Moabi, Deputy CEO of EDB Mauritius, Mr. Gunther Begayer, Managing Director at UNIDO, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for having invited the European Union to this webinar that brings together so many important stakeholders committed to Africa's journey towards growth and industrialization. Today's topic focus is on the role of Mauritius as an international center in supporting investment across Africa. And this is a timely and critical conversation for the future of this great continent. As you all know, studies and experts agree that Africa could benefit from far greater cross-border investment within the continent. Yet, for a continent rich in resources and talent, the current investment landscape is still underdeveloped, and intra-African flows remain below what we would expect for a region of the size of Africa. This not only presents challenges, but also a wealth of opportunities. The European Union has long recognized the immense potential of Africa. We see a continent brimming with resources, entrepreneurial spirit, and innovation, a continent capable of shaping the future of the global economy. And yet, despite all this promise, the investment flows required to unlock Africa's full economic capacity remains insufficient, limiting the transformative growth and development we know. Intra-African flows hold immense potential for driving economic growth, fostering innovation, and creating jobs across the continent. However, despite Africa's abundant opportunities, investment within the region remains below its potential. The business climate and the investment promotion agencies play a critical role in addressing these challenges by actively promoting and facilitating investments, as well as contributing to enabling environments for business. Effective collaboration between IPAs in Africa, attracting inward investments, and those also facilitating outward investment can unlock opportunities to stimulate intra-African investment flows, hence catalyzing sustainable development. These challenges and opportunities are being addressed through the EU-funded ACP Business-Friendly Program. The EU supports UNIDO's initiative and work under the ACP Business-Friendly Program to provide a matchmaking platform to promote mutual collaboration and knowledge exchange by linking initiatives in Mauritius with the rest of the African continent. Strengthening intra-regional flows based on the work of the EDB, the Mauritius International Finance Corporation, and other Mauritius-based financial institutions with UNIDO's investment promotion efforts under the ACP Business Friendly Program. Efforts to enable Mauritius investors in identifying and investing opportunities across Africa, leveraging the EU-funded Invest, which showcase the various investment opportunities existing in Africa, are also in alignment of the priorities of the EU for the continent in terms of the implementation of the Global Gateway Strategy, supporting smart and sustainable investments whilst building resilient connections in the African continent. Through the various initiatives, the European Union is helping to mobilize investments in key sectors in the African continent through the European Fund for Sustainable Development, EFSD Plus, as it is well known, as one of the financing of Global Gateway, promoting sustainable investments in the European Union's partner countries. This facility offers a variety of risk-sharing instruments of up to 40 billion euros, and it aims to mobilize up to 135 billion euros of public and private financing to help partner countries achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Mauritius has taken significant strides in aligning its financial and regulatory frameworks with global standards, including the European Union's emphasis on sustainability and environmental, social, and governance principles, ESG, as well as the Financial Action Task Force on the OECD regarding anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism. This shared commitment to responsible investment offers a powerful avenue for enhanced collaboration and co-investment between Mauritius, the European Union, and African partners. The European Union remains deeply committed to supporting the development of Africa's investment landscape. We understand that fostering investment is not merely about providing capital, it's about creating the right conditions where both investors and businesses can thrive. Through our partnerships with African financial institutions, the EU is to strengthen the capacity of institutions such as the Mauritius International Financial Center, ensuring they are equipped to drive sustainable, inclusive growth. By strengthening Mauritius' role as the IFC, we can create a ripple effect across the continent, driving economic growth, fostering industrialization, and creating employment opportunities, especially for Africa's young and growing population. The opportunity before us is profound. Mauritius, in close collaboration with the European Union and African partners, can be at the heart of a transformative shift in Africa's investment landscape. By unlocking the potential of intra-African investment, we can set into motion a powerful engine for economic growth, industrialization, and job creation across the continent. The EU urges each one of us here today to work together, strengthening partnerships, creating business opportunities, and investing in Africa's future. Let us commit to developing Africa's financial infrastructure, fostering intra-African trade and investment, and ensuring that the next chapter in Africa's economic history is one of shared prosperity, innovation, and sustainable development. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rensin Ramdani, representative of the European Union to Mauritius. Indeed, thank you for reminding us all about the shared commitment between the European Union and Mauritius, sustainable investment across Africa and fostering intra-African trade. Coming to that, I think it's now opportune and it's a unique privilege now to hear from the Honorable Mrs. Jyoti Jitan, Minister for Financial Services and Economic Planning of Mauritius, who can share with us on the way ahead and how the Mauritius IFC can be meaningful towards what we want to achieve together with the EU and together with UNIDO. Honorable Minister, it's up to you now.
Vinay, thank you very much. And I don't know whether to say good morning or good afternoon, depending on which side of the planet you are. Welcome, Mr. Gunther Berger. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. My friend Sachin, Mr. Ramdani, and everyone who is who's on online here. Hello to everyone. It's my pleasure to join you all on this exciting venture that is happening. Thank you for organizing this webinar, EDB for taking the initiative, and UNIDO and EU for supporting this initiative, and for everyone else for joining this this call today. And really, as a government, we are very grateful to the EU, and we are very grateful to UNIDO for reinforcing our ability to attract strategic investments and ensure long-term economic sustainability. Really, this partnership between UNIDO and EDB will provide a window to strengthen its capacity for effective investment promotion and facilitation. So I really commend this this knowledge exchange platform, open and collaborative dialogue amongst stakeholders will ultimately help enhance investment, as you all just said, and investment flows in Africa, which is very important to grow. And the conversation we are having today is really crucial in order to increase that development and inclusive economic growth in the continent. So the collaboration between EDB, UNIDO, supported by the European Union and OACPS, underscores our commitment to advancing economic development through partnerships. And for investment opportunities to happen, we need this sort of enabling investment environment. And the Invest in ACP portal sounds to be a very exciting, truly one-stop shop solution, which requires more understanding by stakeholders and investors for best possible utilization. And I hope today is the beginning of that conversation, and that we will be able to, especially EDB, will be able to promote this platform for better use. And these days, everything is digital. Normally, we would have all met somewhere in a conference room, but now everything is digital, and technology can really foster development and growth. And the formula sounds very simple: technology as a driver of economic growth, which generates wealth and which generates, social and economic mobility in poor countries. Why Mauritius? I am sure Vinay has a session in terms of why Mauritius. Sachin touched upon that in the beginning. EDB has been having this pioneering role in terms of promoting Mauritius, but not just the country, what the country has to offer in terms of investment climate, whether it's financial services, industry, real estate, banking, in all the various sectors. And so I'll leave Vinay to later in the session to explain to us why Mauritius could be this amazing gateway and hub for investment into Africa, and how we can unlock FDI, through greater visibility, better reach, and access the potential investors. The platform provides the means for greater FDI inflows from Mauritius IFC to Africa. And for the financial services sector, this represents an immense opportunity for FDI monitoring and facilitation, for investment promotion, as well as investment opportunity development. So Mauritius has long been recognized as a success story, as a gateway for investment in Africa, and we need to reinforce that and build on what we already have achieved, in terms of attracting high quality FDI into key strategic sectors, especially things like climate change, renewable energy, infrastructure, infrastructure in the wider sense of the word, and technology. There's, when we speak about confidence and trust through reliability of information, I understand that this platform will provide confidence to investment information, which will help generate trust to potential investors. I am very, we at the ministry level, including with the EDB, which is our platform for promotion, and with the industry stakeholders, we will be focusing a lot on visibility and branding of the Financial Services Center. In fact, we have a workshop plan on Monday to really generate, where we want to go and how we will get there in terms of developing a roadmap. And branding and promotion will be a big part of that, because how do we let people know that we exist and what we offer in terms of products and services? So really, that's a key priority for me at the ministry at the moment. And we will be associating ourselves with, institutions like DFIs, UNIDO, EU, OACPS, and other, flagship organizations within this quest of branding and promotion of Mauritius IFC. What else? The partnership of the EDB and UNIDO under the ACP Business Friendly Program is really going to strengthen our investment promotion landscape. It will also help us in terms of timeliness, efficiency, and access to data. This digital platform will empower potential investors by presenting them with a wide array of investment opportunities in Mauritius, increasing transparency and access to data while reducing the time required to evaluate investment opportunities. This Africa potential has more substantial and strategic investment are necessary to accelerate and scale up the modernization of ACP economies and create the million of opportunities that youth and women are looking for. As all of you said before me, Africa is on the move. Africa is the place which is attracting a lot of investment. It is the region of the future in terms of population growth, in terms of economic prosperity, and in terms of investment opportunities. So it's really very, very timely what we are doing, what you all are doing to strengthen this. So in conclusion, I would say that, I am sure today's discussion will pave the way for impactful collaboration and strategic alliances. The exchange of insight and expertise will further strengthen Mauritius' attractiveness as an investment destination and reinforce our commitment to global competitiveness. And I find the platform as a promising tool for intra-investment across Africa, and I'm very confident that this platform will support EDB, the Economic Development Board, in its mission of channeling more significant volumes of investment into the continent, and by so doing, increase investment impact on people, on prosperity, and the planet. So, and we are in Mauritius, we are fully committed to play our role in this partnership. So I would end by wishing the UNIDO, the EU, and all the stakeholders involved in this to know that we shall not lose any opportunity to deepen and strengthen the important partnership crystallized by a shared commitment of empowerment, intra-African investment flows, and sustainable development. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I give you the floor back, Vinay.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister.
On webinars, we can't clap hands when people finish.
Well, I'm sure everybody is happy with your intervention, Honorable Minister. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Honorable Mrs. Jyoti Jitan, Minister for Financial Services and Economic Planning of the Republic of Mauritius. And thank you for supporting and promoting this digital information system under UNIDO's Rapid Response Window program. And certainly, it bodes well when it comes to confidence and trust, where you have UNIDO vetted projects that are listed on the digital information platform, whereby financial institutions based in Mauritius could explore the opportunities through the 900 odd projects that are already listed onto that platform. And I'm sure later on we'll hear more about this from Mr. Brian Portelli. So for now, I don't have to introduce myself. So I'm Vinay Gudai, Director for Financial Services at the Economic Development Board. I would, as the Minister has suggested earlier, I would be sharing with you a presentation on basically, I don't know if you can see my screen, so just 1 second. There you go. Can you see my screen?
Yes. It's okay. Right.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be taking you through why Mauritius, and in the interest of time, so I would go to the gist of it. So I won't go into the details yet, but this presentation will be made available to all of you that have registered for this webinar today. So this slide shows you the progress of the Mauritian GDP since our independence in the 1960s. We were a monoculture economy at that time, $400 per capita. That was the GDP per capita. So considered as as a poor country at that time. And over the years, every decade, you will see that Mauritius managed to diversify its economy. In the 70s, it was about industrialization through the implementation of export processing zones in Mauritius. In the 1990s, it was about the hospitality and tourism industry. And you will see that the GDP per capita rose in the 70s to over 1,000 and in the 1990s to over 2,000 per capita. Then in the 1990s, this is where the Mauritius IFC was set up in the early 1990s, actually in 1991, 1992, where at that time the Mauritius Offshore Business Act was introduced. And since then, you can see a very rapid increase in the GDP per capita, where we had for some time almost double-digit growth of the GDP of Mauritius. And in the early 2000s, thanks to the expansion of the Mauritius International Financial Center, the GDP per capita reached almost 8,000 by the early 2000s. And then we again diversified the economy into the ICT, IT, and the TIC sector, with the BPO implementations in Mauritius as well. And from there on, recently, Mauritius has gone into further diversification to be more meaningful for plugging the finance gap across Africa, or exporting talents, skills, and knowledge onto the continent. Recently, we've seen a lot of Mauritian conglomerates expanding into Africa, whether in the sugar industry, whether in the financial services industry, or in logistics, or in agriculture and different segments. You will see a lot of Mauritian conglomerates now expanding in Africa. And amazingly, you will find that most of the profits now are derived from the operations across Africa. So more recently, there's a lot of focus on innovation, high-tech manufacturing, like high-tech textile, manufacturing of medical devices, and also you will see that pharmaceutical, biotechnology, all these are the new segments that are being promoted by the government and the EDB itself. What this slide shows is that for the past almost 60 years, there has been a continuous and unbroken GDP growth of the country, and it shows that it can be trusted. Mauritius has learned, has mastered the talent of continuously revamping, re-engineering its economic landscape and diversifying its economy to be more resilient, which bodes well for investors and operators. If you want to be based, you want to be based in a jurisdiction that has demonstrated continuous growth over a long time. So this is a Mauritius IFC at a glance in terms of the banking sector, with total asset around 55 billion. And then we have a very fast growing insurance sector now, which is already 2% of the GDP. We recently have Lloyd's, that has Lloyd's Syndicate 2454 that has appointed the Africa Specialty Risk in Mauritius to be the representative in Africa. And we have seen a lot of application for captive, pure captive insurers in Mauritius as well. So that segment is developing very well as well. And more importantly, the capital market in Mauritius. Only 6 years ago, the total market capitalization in Mauritius with only the Sandex in operation was around 12 to 13 billion dollars. But now with Afrinex and Mindex in operation, the total combined market capitalization in Mauritius has crossed the $30 billion mark as well, with a CAGR of 36%. So that's quite impressive as well in terms of funding projects in Mauritius and in the region. So the next slide, which sorry, just some glitch. As the Honourable Minister mentioned, so I'll be talking a little bit about the Mauritius advantage in terms of ease of doing business. In its last report that was published by the World Bank, Mauritius ranked 13th in terms of ease of doing business. But what's more important for operators in the financial segment or investors, when they want to set up in Mauritius, 100% foreign ownership is allowed in Mauritius, no foreign exchange control. When we come to global market access, the fact that Mauritius has extremely excellent diplomatic relations with all the countries in the world, we have preferential market access to over 70% of the world market. We have a SECPA, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement with India. We have a bilateral trade agreement with China. We got the AFCFTA in place with the continent of Africa. We got the interim economic partnership agreement with the EU. We have an economic partnership agreement with the UK, and AGOA is still in operation. So all these trade agreements, bilateral and multilateral agreements, allows us to have preferential market access to over 70% of the world market. Risk mitigation and legal platform as well in terms of governance. Mauritius has always come out on top. Even when you look at the Financial Action Task Force, we are one of the few jurisdictions that has scored 40 out of 40 in all of the recommendations. We are fully compliant or largely compliant to all 40 requirements of the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF. And we come to the legal system. We have a hybrid legal system in Mauritius, our highest court of appeal in Mauritius being the Supreme Court of Mauritius. But you can go beyond that. If you are not happy with the judgment, you can always go to the UK's Privy Council as the last court of appeal in Mauritius. And on top of this, we have the Permanent Court of Arbitration that has its seat in Mauritius as well, where your litigations could go for arbitration in Mauritius itself. And they have a very, very good success and turnover rate, which is above 60%. In terms of fiscal incentives, no capital gains tax in Mauritius, no WHT on dividend and interest, free repatriation of profits, dividend and capital, and no estate duty, inheritance, or wealth tax in Mauritius. And I think that's why you will see a lot of people investing also in assets in Mauritius. There are buildings being built in Mauritius that is really strengthening the ecosystem as an IFC of choice. If you look at the Mauritius IFC health check itself, you will not often see wonderful ratios like that. The banking asset to GDP ratio is above 300%. The capital adequacy ratio in banks of Mauritius is over 20%, where the global average is 10%. And also the return on equity is almost 22%. And as we know, in the West right now, banks have been struggling to make 3-4% return on equity. So 22% Mauritius is really admirable. We mentioned that already, endorsement and recognition by the Financial Action Task Force, the OECD, and the EU. And also, I already talked about the legal framework in Mauritius, the hybrid legal system that puts together both the British common law and the French Code Civil. So that gives us a unique perspective, being in Mauritius, to be able to structure partnership alliances or any acquisition that you want to do, both in Francophone Africa and Anglophone Africa. Right. And when it comes to also the different BITs, bilateral investment treaties that we have, you will see that we have in force over 53 DTAs globally and 22 with African states. So that puts us in a very good position to mitigate your risk and reduce your net effective costs when it comes to structuring investment across the continent or across the globe, for that matter. Same applies for investment promotion and protection agreement, where your investment could be protected bilaterally through the agreements that Mauritius have with several countries. And here we have 44 globally and 25 African states. Just to give you an overview of the meaningfulness of the Mauritius IFC to the globe, and especially to the continent of Africa, you will find that total flow of funds for the Mauritius IFC is far beyond the $700 billion so far. And you will see that around 8.8% comes from Africa, and 14% of the flow of funds go into Africa from the Mauritius IFC. And of course, predominantly since the 1990s, with the DTA of India being the major market, and you will see around still cumulatively 48% of the flows have been toward India, and that is cumulatively around $170 billion. But as you can see from this chart, funds flow from across the globe into Mauritius and Mauritius to the globe, with the USA, again, 25% of inward flows coming from the America, USA, and about 4% going back to the USA. When it comes to the different products or services being offered by the Mauritius IFC, it's a very dynamic picture itself. It keeps evolving even as we speak. I know that we're talking about sustainable financing at the level of the ministry and the government. We're talking about the Cape Town Convention for financing of movable assets, even intellectual property protection, ship financing, and so on. So this list keeps changing every time that there is a new bill that's going to Parliament. But for now, you will see when it comes to banking and insurance, as I told you earlier, captive insurance is something that's picking up momentum in Mauritius, especially for conglomerates across Africa, using Mauritius for the treasury and other administrative duties as well. Listing and capital raising, I mentioned that already, where the total capitalization increased by 36% over the past 4 or 5 years, growing from 13 billion to over 30 billion in a matter of 4 or 5 years. So that's quite a space to watch, because I believe there will be more opportunities to raise funds for Mauritius and financing projects across from the Mauritius IFC. Cross-border investment and services, this is where we're very strong. We have a lot of global business companies domiciling in Mauritius, over 13,000 domiciling in Mauritius, but we're seeing a shift also from GPs to LPs in Mauritius. So there's more demand for investment advisory services through the Mauritian platform. And more recently, we've seen rating agencies like the KH Rating, and more recently, I've seen another one from India, Beacon Trustership, trying to get their risk rating agency in Mauritius as well. So this bodes well with what investment advisors and CIOs would want to do in the future, where they can access data on countries and on separate projects or segments through the Mauritian jurisdiction, through the existence of this type of agencies in Mauritius. So it keeps growing, it keeps building the strength of the financial services ecosystem in Mauritius. I would like to introduce to you as well, I don't know if you've have heard already, Mauritius launched about 2 years ago the variable capital company, and that is quite a flexible structure to have in Mauritius, where you can have several sub-funds under one structure, reducing your costs, and at the same time having the KFC being done at the level of the structure itself, and everything can be replicated across the sub-funds that are attached to the main fund through the variable capital company. And that's picking up a lot of momentum, especially a lot of Indian operators shifting into the VCC structure in Mauritius, conglomerates where they can raise capital through different sub-funds where the risks are isolated within one unit and it doesn't overlap to the other. And each of the units have their own how do you call it, their own identity, legal identity as well. And that flexibility is really attractive to a lot of operators and financial institutions right now. The other important development that happened recently is the VITOS, which is the Virtual Asset and Initial Token Offering Services Act. And we have 5 digital licenses under that act, which is the broker-dealer license, the digital wallet services license, the digital custodian services license, and the digital advisory services license. And last but not least, the digital marketplace license. What I can tell you is that the fintech segment in Mauritius is growing quite well. We are one of the few jurisdictions that has a proper regulatory framework for fintech through the VITOS Act. And also we have over 44 operators that are already fully licensed in the fintech arena in Mauritius. We have about 33 under the payment intermediary systems licensed by the Financial Services Commission of Mauritius. Got about 12 to 15 licensees under the VITOS Act already, and the most prominent one being CoinPH from Indonesia that runs a digital marketplace through the VITOS Act, and they have 16 million users globally trading for the Mauritian platform. Right, so I already mentioned the payment intermediary services, and that's picking up a lot of momentum, and we're seeing a lot of organizations from Europe or India or Asia coming to Mauritius and testing their product for the African market, and through the treasury management and through the ease of doing business platform that they have in Mauritius, it's enabling them to grow and to really capture the market across the African continent. This is just a list of other key licenses that we have or schemes that we have through the financial services segment in Mauritius. We have the family office, whether the single or multiple family office, the global treasury activity license, or captive insurance I mentioned already, the asset and fund manager certificate, investment banking license, and the global headquartering and administration license. We've seen companies like Hapag-Lloyd coming to Mauritius and using Mauritius as a regional headquarters, Huawei from China using Mauritius as a regional headquarters as well. So we're seeing more and more of these international organizations coming to Mauritius for the regional headquarters as well. And of course, the global legal advisory services license also that's picking up momentum, and we're seeing a lot of international legal firms as well coming to Mauritius. We already have firms like Dentons, now we have Yingke from China, and we have other firms coming from different parts of the world that are setting up strategic alliances with local legal firms to offer strategic alliances and other litigation services as well for the Mauritius IFC, especially with the permanent court arbitration base in Mauritius. Before I end, I would just like to, encourage you to look at working in Mauritius, living in Mauritius, enjoy the beautiful sunshine of Mauritius, the sand and the beach, very well known globally, but also explore the opportunities for the Mauritius IFC. There are different types of residence permit in Mauritius. You can acquire property as well and get your residence permit in Mauritius, or you could come under different schemes, whether as an investor, professional, retired non-citizen, self-employed, or also you could come into Mauritius as under the premium visa, which is quite accessible, easily accessible through the EDB platform if you do your application there. And the EDB is there to assist you. My CEO is here. I'm here myself, so you can contact us anytime. I will end with this. And of course, at the end of this session, I'll be open to any questions that you may have. Thank you for your attention. I will now pass on to Mr. Brian Portley, Chief Technical Advisor, Sustainable Investment and Responsible Business Unit of the UNIDO, to take us through the systems that has been put into place for us to try and understand projects in this part of the world. Brian, it's over to you now.
Thank you, Vinay. I hope my screen is, you can see my screen. Yes, so thank you very much. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, partners, and also ladies and gentlemen. We are very, very honored to be, I'm representing the entire UNIDO team in presenting a brief overview of the work that UNIDO has been undertaking under the previously mentioned program. Probably I don't need to mention it too many times. But essentially, it's a very exciting milestone activity that we're having today, which is signaling the very important collaborative work that we have started with the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, as well as other partners like IFC in the country in the ambit of the ACB Business Friendly Program. This program is essentially all about investment promotion, investment facilitation. We have been working in a number of countries in the African continent, but not only, but also in the Caribbean and the Pacific. And essentially, the main focus of this important program is, on the one hand, to ensure that there is the right facilitation for foreign direct investment and also for domestic investment, to support as much as possible the investment retention in these economies, because existing investors crowd in and create the attractive factors to mobilize new investment. At the same time, to support beneficiary countries and agencies in terms of investment promotion and lead generation support. So what all it means is that we have an intervention framework that, especially from the perspective of the investment opportunity identification, to help identify what are the opportunities, because as was mentioned by previous speakers, there is still a certain market failures in terms of asymmetry of information, in terms of the right perception of the risks in operating in specific economies, as well as what are the dynamism in certain sectors and certain value chains. So from our perspective, we have supported this work primarily to start identifying what countries in the sub-Saharan African continent have to offer in terms of investment opportunities. We're not reinventing anything. We are complementing existing efforts that is being promoted by investment promotion agencies and other institutions. After the identification, we are of course working very much on the aspect of promoting, so creating more visibility to these countries, to these economies. And this has been primarily done through the development of digital tools that we'll be showcasing in a few seconds. Essentially, digital tools to ensure a more effective, more efficient way to get closer to those potential investors. Identification and promotion alone are nothing without effective targeting. So one could even say that occasions like today brings us closer, brings our work closer to those potential investors or those who are working on behalf of investors as intermediaries, to understand exactly how investor targeting and lead generation can take place. Our support is obviously facilitating the matchmaking, and I'm happy that the Honourable Minister also mentioned this point earlier on in her introductory speech. Facilitating matchmaking between the demand for financing and investing. So we know that a number of projects, whether greenfield, whether coming from small and medium-sized enterprises, whether coming from micro enterprises, whether coming from other projects which are under the banner of public-private partnership and the like, are looking for financing, are looking for investment. On the other hand, there is, of course, quite an important supply of capital, investment guarantees, and other under framework conditions, where basically are looking for the right type of opportunities for investment. And we're not only talking about multinational corporations here, we're talking about the DFIs, we're talking about sovereign funds, we're talking about impact investors, diasporas, social entrepreneurs, and the like. So our work under the ACP Business Friendly Program is driven by an important resolute to provide value addition to contribute to this facilitated matchmaking approach between the demand and the supply. A brief clip of what the Invest in ACP platform looks like. I believe that many of the participants have already looked into the information available on the internet and browsed the information available on this platform. What is important here, whilst you see the screen moving and I don't have to do much, I want to concentrate very much on the list of countries and organizations which are listed there. So this is essentially our partners in the respective countries with whom we have been engaging technically, increasing with capacity building support, with advisory supports, in the way that, in the modality that UNIDO implements such technical assistance programs. So we are working in countries like Cameroon, in Senegal, in Zambia, in Kenya, so in Ethiopia. So essentially these are investment promotion agencies which are mandated to attract and mobilize foreign direct investment to their economies, but also the mandate of these agencies is also wide to include also other aspects of government policy to support local enterprises, to support SME export orientation and international market. Another aspect which is very important in the case of the African continent is industrial parks, and the Invest in ACP platform also has a very important, let's say, component part which is dedicated to these industrial parks and sites across the continent. So here we are talking about information about actually concrete and real sites which are operational, which can be contacted, and of course we are making a lot of emphasis on updating information which reflects back how and who is in charge of these sites, of what type of operations and economic activities is being undertaken in these areas, which type of investment dynamic is happening in relation also to the local economic structures. Back to the investment opportunities, it was mentioned before. Currently on the platform we have around 840 published investment opportunities, and you can see here, of course, the list of countries that we have. The great majority of these opportunities are coming from small and medium-sized enterprises, also micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. So basically we're talking about startup ideas, we're talking about women entrepreneurs, we're also talking about a number of projects coming from the youth. Other greenfield projects that we have are essentially concentrated in the backbones of economic development structures. Of course, a lot of infrastructure projects related to agriculture, digitalization, very increasingly now in the case of Africa, of course, the investment in and around the development corridors, as well as other more, let's say, socio-economic areas, dimensions like urban planning, green growth, and health. It's important for us that these are the thematics that also are aligned with the European Union Global Gateway initiatives and prerogatives. So it's very important for us to move the countries also to start identifying and formulating projects that are calling for investment in these Global Gateway priority actions. This 840 is a bit of a snapshot of what we have right now. There is another, of course, stream of work ongoing, which is essentially project pipelines. Another 350 projects are currently in progress. And again, here what we have is a bit of a subdivision between greenfield and a bit of a majority of projects emanating from the SME sector. This is important, of course, when we look at some of the results that we have in terms of both outputs, which is essentially the transformation of business ideas and project abstracts into something concrete that can be discussed and can be exchanged with potential investors. So 840 are essentially a very important output that we have, but in addition also we've been putting a lot of emphasis on visits from potential investors, from intermediaries on our digital platform. Also emphasizing the tailored support that we are providing to, as UNIDO, to these investment promotion agencies before, during, and after contacts with potential investors. So we have had so far around 130 B2Bs and B2Gs effectively taking place, more than 300 contact requests from potential investors, and to date we have generated around 51 million investment for 34 projects in various countries. This is basically a very important result which confirms that the path is the right one in terms of facilitating and supporting the pitching of these projects to potential investors who are interested to know more about what these countries, what African continent has to offer. There is, of course, an ongoing process of non-disclosure agreements being signed. 15 projects are under discussion, and the number, let's say, is increasing on a day-to-day basis, with an important good prospect that many of these projects are greenfield projects, which are suppose when they are realized will have important impact at local level. Just a very quick reference to the sort of what's the methodology behind this, because of course behind the numbers and behind the platform there's quite an important work that is being done at country level. UNIDO is facilitating this process. We are not doing this for the countries, we're doing this with the countries, with the IPAs, with the institutions. So essentially our approach is to have more clarity on the background of the investment opportunity, including who's behind the project idea, what type of governmental regional policies exist, what type of master planning exists, etc. It's important also to put emphasis on the project impact and purpose, because increasingly these are key themes that are immediately inquired about from potential investors, specifically if we are talking about sustainable development and certain sustainable impact of project opportunities. In addition to this, we also offer an aspect of financial analysis, which is undertaken via other tools that UNIDO, the important flagship tool, ComFAR, which is a financial analysis of potential investment opportunities. So this package of who is behind the project, what is the impact, what type of financial assessment can be presented to would-be investors is a very important package to start off any meaningful B2B, B2G discussion. These different components are essentially also clusters of information that typically inform an investment opportunity. As I mentioned, who's behind the project, the idea behind the project, of course, the ticket, typology, scope, impact, and strengths, type of partnerships being sought. It was also mentioned that there is a fantastic opportunity in the continent, not only for cross-border investment, but also cross-border technology transfer, knowledge transfer. So collaboration sought is a very important aspect in this assessment of investment opportunities. And other information on markets, production, products, process, what is essentially expected to be generated out of this investment opportunities if realized when they raise the required capital. One last, let's say, slide is, of course, our value proposition is to emphasize that we know that the journey is a long one. So essentially, our work is very much confined at the level of stage one here, identification formulation. We are, of course, working in the enabling environment aspect, capacity building. We are bringing in new methodologies, process, digital tools to some of these local partners to develop the investment opportunities. Then some of these opportunities, of course, to move forward as a second stage in terms of incubation and acceleration, we would be looking for support in terms of matchmaking with potential investors for early stage private capital, for example. So here, this input would be fundamentally important to steer these projects, or at least identify from the many those rough diamonds that can be supported via acceleration process, via a certain incubation, on towards the investment readiness process. Of course, all different investors are focused on or at different stages in this entire value chain. That is very important for us also to realize when we are also providing advisory support to our partners at country level. But it's important at this stage that our facilitated approach is being focused primarily at this early stage private capital, where we are appealing to those early stage investors, angel investors, impact investors, incubators, accelerators that want to embrace and partner in this important endeavor. It gets me to the last slide. Of course, for us, what are the next steps? It's important for us. Please check us out, check our work. Please review the investment opportunities that we have on the portal. And of course, the related investment location information like industrial parks, like other information on the assessment of the business environment in a number of African countries. We are doing a lot of FDI mapping work and investment facilitation support. So this is all quite conducive and important for investment promotion. We can provide immediate facilitation and support also with regards to links with these organizations for B2Bs and B2Gs. And ultimately, our offer is let's collaborate, let's partner for opportunities in and those, most importantly, for the continent. So thank you very much, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for taking us through this digital investment profiling system, which is developed under the ACP Business Friendly Program. I think it's truly amazing that you are profiling projects and putting them on a platform. And yes, together, the EDB would like to collaborate with UNIDO and promote this digital investment profiling system that could help promote or facilitate further investment onto the continent. I would like to now invite the participants. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and we shall ask the question to all the speakers today. We are lucky that the Honorable Minister is still with us today up to now. So please just raise your hand and we'll ask the questions to the relevant speaker. I see we have Samira Jagu. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. I'm Samira from Maurice Strategy. And my question is targeted towards Brian. On one of your slides, you showed us that there was numerous investment opportunities. And we can see that Ethiopia has the highest number of investment opportunities, which is, I think, around 406. What lessons can Mauritius learn from Ethiopia's approach to attracting investment, and how can Mauritius replicate similar success? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Indeed, it might seem that Ethiopia is leading the pack. There are a number of reasons there. The first obvious reason is that we have started working in Ethiopia a bit at an earlier stage than in other countries. Also, we have been working not only with the Ethiopia Investment Commission as the country's IPA, but we also been working with other entities, working more closely with the SMEs. So we have sort of an extended network, and more recently we're also looking into increasing the number of those organizations. I think with Mauritius, with EDB, we are quite excited with the part that we have took recently in terms of not only looking or let's say sifting through the big projects, the more resounding projects, the PPP projects, but also working along the lines of opening calls for local enterprises, local SMEs that may be at a particular important trajectory in their development process, maybe looking for capital, looking for finance, looking for partners. And this is a very encouraging way how to reach out to the market, essentially look where the demands for support is required and move forward from that point of view. So I think the path is clear, and we are very much eager now to follow up on the next steps, also to make sure that this initial feedback that was received from the private sector can then be capitalized, not only with putting information on a portal, which is essentially the first step, but most importantly to work to bring those opportunities in the ambit or of the financial players, actors who would like to work in this sector.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. I don't see any other hands raised. Before I hand over to my Deputy CEO, Sachin, for the closing remarks, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister if she would like to say a few lines before we close, before we hand over to Sachin.
No, really very impressed, Brian. To be very honest, this is the first time I saw what you guys are doing. Very impressed. I was just wondering how far this replaces the personal contact between the investors and the businesses that are looking for opportunities, or is the technological side a support, or is it really like driving the initiatives?
Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the question. Absolutely no. A handshake is always a handshake. A smile is always a smile. A coffee break is always a coffee break. So these are tools that are meant to support, to bring closer those who are looking for investment and those who have very important opportunities to offer. Of course, we had started this program in a not long distant past, where we were all faced with the pandemic, with the pre-post-pandemic situation, where a lot of emphasis has been put on digital platforms. But these digital platforms are meant, and basically our work is meant to essentially get the information out there and then make sure that let's say the initial contact request that is facilitated via the digital systems that we have developed is always recommended to be followed by an in-country visit, more meetings, etc. Because obviously that's the way how this service should work. So it's a complementary approach. It's increasing the possibilities that there is also more proximity in terms of sharing of information and exchanges. At the same time, it will hopefully, at least that's my hope, at least it should never replace the face-to-face meetings and handshakes. Thank you.
But really brilliant to the UNIDO team, brilliant to the EDB team, and I really wish you all the best. And I really hope that this becomes a very, essential tool, even if it is just the initial introductory matchmaking, and from there on, they can meet and carry on from there. But at least for the initial stage, I hope really that this can be a very valuable tool.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and I think we are very, very excited to work with EDB and IFC, and this is just the beginning. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody at UNIDO. I would like to now hand over to Mr. Sachin Moabia, Deputy CEO of the EDB, for the closing remarks. Sachin, unmute, please.
It's okay now, Vinay? Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us for this knowledge exchange webinar on investment into Africa. We hope that you found the different discussions valuable and informative. We appreciate your active participation. We'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for her engagement throughout the session and contribution to make this webinar a success. We believe that the opportunities that we saw in Africa and the trade opportunities are immense, and we are committed to support and work with all partners at UNIDO, the EU, to how we can help investors to capitalize on all the opportunities. And we hope that all the information that have been shared will help you make informed decisions. We'll be sharing the webinar recording and presentation slide with all registered attendees shortly. Vinay and his team will do that. So, and if you have any other question, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out. So thank you once again for your participation, and see you for another webinar in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.